Hi everyone, it's me, Charlena, back with another Tuesday Talks, and I'm so excited because I'm here with my friend Charlotte. We met in a women's business entrepreneurial group, and she's just so cool. And I thought she had a lot of wisdom to share about a really fun topic for me, anyway. It's decluttering your mind. So why don't you tell us first, like a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Charlotte Kaye, and I am a life coach and a decluttering coach. And I just mostly support women in being who they are and doing what they want and manifesting and all the fun stuff.
Ooh, I like all of that. Supporting women, doing what we want.
Yes.
And manifesting a really good life.
Yes.
So I personally was drawn to this topic because I'm an air element and my mind is always going 100 million different ways. Okay.
Aquarius.
So all right, so you know how it is.
What are you?
I'm a Gemini.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, and I love Aquarius. My grandma was an Aquarius.
Nice.
Yeah, so very thinky people.
Yes.
Yes. So give us kind of first tell us a little bit more about you, and then how you kind of got interested in this topic specifically.
Yeah, I mean, so interested in life coaching and decluttering was just sort of my own journey to mindfulness because I was working in a small nonprofit and got entirely burnt out in less than 6 months. And so I sort of turned to mindfulness and meditation. And also in that same time, I did a huge decluttering journey of my space. And so after that, I just started doing all this stuff on the side of my life. On the side of working, I was doing personal development classes and learning from coaches and listening to podcasts and reading books and all that. And then when I started my business about 4 years ago now, I just wanted to give those gifts back out to the world because they had helped me so much. So that's what I did there. When it comes to decluttering your mind, I got interested in that topic basically because a few weeks ago someone asked me, they knew I did decluttering, and they were like, will you come and talk to my group about decluttering your mind? And I was like, sure. I knew I could do that, but I was like, I've never talked about that specifically before. I've definitely talked about the parallels between decluttering and confidence and manifestation and all the other things that I talk about, but I had never specifically talked about decluttering your mind. So I did that talk and sort of made it up as I went along with that group.
Entrepreneurial way.
Yes. I mean, it's all topics that I know a lot about. So I started doing that, and then someone else brought up the topic, and then you wanted to talk about it again. So I've just been thinking about it. Actually, I'm going to go much deeper into this topic now in sort of my teaching. So
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So first let's talk about the link between kind of a cluttered mind and a cluttered environment. Do you think there is a link?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with our subconscious, right? And visual clutter as well. But I think whether or not we are consciously aware of it, everything in our space, whether we see it or not, is impacting us and is weighing on us. So if you have that closet that you shove a bunch of stuff into and you never look at it, you better believe that's still living in the back of your mind as this big black hole of like, I don't know what's in there. And it's sort of like this scary, overwhelming thing. I mean, and this is why, when you do declutter or go through and organize what you have, you feel so much lighter because it is weighing on your subconscious, I believe, is the connection between that. And of course, then it makes it hard to focus, right? Like if you always have these shoulds in the back of your mind of like, oh, I should really take care of that, or, that closet is full of half-finished projects or whatever, that's running in the back of your mind all the time.
Oh my goodness. I love that you mentioned like that junk drawer or like a closet where you've just shoved everything in, because I'm kind of one of those persons where like things will look good on the outside. So it's like everything might be in its place, front of house, you might not, but then you open the drawer and it's like
yes, exactly.
So even if your presentation is not cluttered, but the contents behind the scenes are cluttered, it's still weighing on you.
Yeah, I've had people comment on the inside of my cabinets are all fairly organized and my closets are fairly organized, and they're like, oh yeah, that's like the difference. I don't know. I just had people comment on that before I never even thought about it. I was like, yeah, it's nice to have things in order rather than just everything shoved in there, right?
Right.
And of course that concept applies, we can get to this too, but in decluttering your mind, you know, there's all these ideas and all these shoulds and all these supposed to's and all these thoughts just like lingering around in there. It's going to make it very hard to focus and have clarity and move in the direction of where you really want to go, where your soul is leading you, your intuition is leading you, all of that too.
Right. Okay, I completely agree with that. So give us your tips. Tell us how we can.
Okay, so I've sort of, through this journey of uncovering this topic, I've got 4 steps to decluttering your mind. There's probably more, but these are the 4 that I've come up with, so I'll just go over them briefly, and then you can take it wherever you want.
Okay, so. Well, I love that, because it's internet, and we know we like things simple and
yes,
so
yes.
4 steps.
4 steps. So the first step would be inputs.
Okay.
What are you consuming? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you hearing from friends? All of that. Like, what are your inputs, right? Because that all lives in your mind. Number 2 is physical decluttering. Decluttering your space, decluttering your home, your workspace, whatever. The third step would be processing and feeling your emotions.
Oh, God.
Because when decluttering your mind, I feel like what actually weighs on us more, quite honestly, is our emotions and our feelings. Because we're not processing them, right? So they're just sort of like stuck there. So that's a little cheat. It might not be your mind, but they're weighing on you, right, in general. And then the last one is your mindset and your thoughts and what you're thinking, and kind of diving into what are the thoughts that are in there? Are they helpful? Are they not? Where did they come from? So essentially you're sort of sorting through, getting rid of, decluttering, maybe bringing in some new, more helpful thoughts, right? To declutter your mind that way is really looking at those thoughts that are happening on a second-to-second basis, I'm sure.
Okay, so this is great information. So you started with inputs, which is so good, especially for someone like me, an air element, who... I'm an information junkie, and now that we have the internet, it's just always there to like constantly stimulate. Yes. So how do we, I don't want to say block these inputs, sort them, like, what are your tips about, like...
I think sometimes you do want to block them.
Okay.
It depends what they are. You want to take a look at them, right? You want to see which ones are helping you in your life and which ones are just adding pressure. So this one really came out, a great story for this is I have a colleague who just has trouble finishing anything. She's like, I have all these ideas. She's like, I have all these creative ideas and I just have a hard time finishing things. And I think that's fine. I think part of it is just acceptance of like being a creative person. You don't have to, I don't believe you have to finish every single thing that you start, right? It's like what's bringing you joy, what are you learning in the process. But I also happen to know that this person reads a lot of books about her area of expertise, listens to podcasts, talks to people, so she's constantly getting more ideas. So I feel like when your focus is pulled to these other things, you're not kind of doing, so like for me, for example, I really don't follow a lot of coaches. I follow like 3 coaches, and they're people that I actually have worked with or that I buy their courses, and like those are the 3 people I want in my mind, because if I'm hearing other people's ideas, I'm gonna be like, well, now why would I ever do a course on decluttering your mind, because someone else is doing a course on decluttering your mind, or oh, they've already done this and they did it better than me, or they did that and that didn't work. So it's about really creating space for your light, your message, your intuition, your soul to like just shine. I think the most impactful things are created when we're not just regurgitating, right, from other things we've taken in. And certainly you can use those as tools, but I think at some point it's enough to say, I've got the principles, and now I'm going to make it my own, and I'm going to move forward, right, in a different way. So that's a little more entrepreneur focused, but certainly just looking at, I have a friend who's a mother of 3 young ones, and she has given up social media for Lent, actually.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Isn't that good? Yeah. And she was like, after, just a few days, she was like, I'm not like comparing myself as much to other people, I'm not like telling myself I need to be more productive or I need to be doing these things, because when you're seeing those things, it might be like, oh, that's inspiring, but is it inspiring or is it like oppressing you, kind of? Is it like weighing on you of all these things you should do? Because that's sort of like the physical declutter too, is like if it's cluttered, there's constantly, and someone I was at a conference and they were saying, it's like your things yell at you. Like,
yeah.
Clean this, move this, go through this, fold this laundry. It's like your stuff yells at you. Yes, exactly. So, that's going through those inputs and weeding them out, I think, is important for your own voice to shine through.
Yeah,
limits. Mm-hmm.
I think that's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the internet, we have access to more information than humans have ever had access to.
Yes.
And more ideas, because you look at magazines or you see things or you see other people's lives, and not even necessarily like in an envious, jealous way, but you're just like, oh, I never thought about that. That would be nice. Like, oh, that would be an interesting hobby to pursue, or that would be an interesting thing to learn about, or that would be, and it's like, our lives are capped. I mean, we don't live for 200 years, so at some point you really have to kind of curate.
Yes. I was actually talking to my coach about this today, because I'm taking some time off to kind of like hone in on what do I really want to focus on and what do I want to do. And it's a great problem to have, because when I started my business, I was like, I don't know anything. I don't know how to do anything. I need to learn everything. So I was taking all that in. And now I'm to a point where I'm like, well, I can do this and make money from it. I can do this and make money. I could offer this. I could do this service. And there's like a broad range of things that I can do, but it's also, that's wonderful. And also it's overwhelming.
Completely overwhelming.
It's like, I want to like hone back in and focus on this thing now, because if I'm focused on a million different things, I'm going to make like no progress in every direction, as opposed to like focusing on a couple of things and actually like making some progress in that direction.
Okay, I love that. So to recap, one of the best and first steps to decluttering your mind is reducing the amount of clutter you put in it.
Yes, your inputs. Yes, exactly.
Your inputs.
Yeah. Well, it's like with your home, right? Like if you constantly are shopping, you're going to constantly have a bunch of shit.
Right? That you're either going to have to recycle, store, do something with.
Yep. Sit in your closet and never ever use. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is that the Buddhist way, or who says kind of like you don't have your stuff has you?
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Like it doesn't own, you don't own it, it owns you.
Yeah.
Okay, so mindful of our inputs, whether physical but definitely like ideal wise and mental.
Yes.
Yeah. Social media fasts are a great idea. And time limits, I would say, for...
Yeah, I'm bad at those.
Yeah.
I kind of have to all or nothing. I'm actually just today manifested... See, this is why you have to speak out into the world what you want, because I've been telling a group of ladies that I'm going to have a second phone or device for social media, because I like to post on social media, but I also scroll a lot, and even though it's all pretty curated and like positive, it's still like scrolling. So when I like delete them off my phone, it's like, oh, I'm crying for no reason, because I was like, oh, I was numbing something apparently.
Dopamine hits you're not getting
Yes,
anymore.
Exactly. And so I have been telling this group like, oh, when I get a new phone, I'm just going to keep this one and use it for social media. And one of them just offered me, she got a new iPad, so she's like, do you want my other iPad that I had before? And I was like, yes, I do. That would be great. So, yeah.
Okay, speak things into existence.
Side note on manifestation.
Yes, I would like a brilliant, amazing husband to
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
In 2023. How about that? Okay, so step 2, was it decluttering your environment?
Decluttering your space.
Your space, okay.
I can talk about a lot of things, so I'm going to need you to guide me with a question, because there's I will probably create a whole big long course on decluttering at some point in my life. So.
Well, let's then maybe just focus on how to get started with that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, it's the initiation, the ignition. You might have the goal, but you just don't have the energy to start it.
Yeah. Well, I would wait a little bit till you have the energy then, to be honest, because it can be an exhausting process. So I do think giving yourself the grace to wait until you actually feel somewhat inspired. But a first step even before that is just to think about, like, why do you want to declutter? Like, what's your intention for that? How do you want to feel in your space? Like, and how is that not how you feel right now, So then I do this with all my decluttering clients, is we talk about what's your intention for your space, and then we use that to weigh against the stuff that they have. It's like, okay, well, I want an environment that feels calm and creative or something, whatever, whatever their intention is. And then as you go through, if you stumble upon things like, okay, does this contribute to a calm and creative environment for you? Yes or no. If it's yes, you keep it. If it's no, you don't. In terms of where to physically start, closets tend to be a good place. People don't tend to be super emotionally attached to their clothes. I know there are exceptions to that, but I think a closet is a great place to start.
Do you think, definitely a closet. Because you use it every day too, right? Most people use your closet
then
every
you'll
day.
see it. You'll see the difference every day. You'll feel the difference every day as opposed to doing, your basement or something,
Right.
which is where most people want to start. It's interesting. But I do have people, like you mentioned before, who will have like their upstairs is pretty good and then the basement's just full of crap. So we'll go through and do that. But I think somewhere that you will see the difference. So maybe it's your home office if you're working from home, or it's your closet, because you interact with those spaces most days. So if you put in the time and you do that, then you'll be naturally motivated to keep going because it'll reinforce the positive benefits of doing that.
Okay, I like that. Starting with like a small project or not an overwhelming project.
Yeah.
Like a closet or a junk drawer. Or even your purse if you're someone who has like a whole bunch of stuff in your purse.
That's true. That's a good point.
Work bag or something.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay. So number 3, I think I forgot already.
Number 3 is, feeling your feelings.
Oh, of course I forgot that one. I don't even like feelings. Okay. I erased that one.
It's okay. Aquarius, me too. I need to do, that's again, I'm like having all these ideas for course. Like I need to do a course on feeling your feelings for people who are very mental, like up in their head, because that is totally me and was me even more in the past. So feeling your feelings. I think this is sort of I think this happens when we haven't decluttered the other things.
Okay.
So things happen, we see inputs, and we have all this junk around us, and it just all builds up, right? And so then you have these emotions, and if you're not getting into your body to feel through your emotions ever for some of us, they're just going to build up, right, until you explode on someone or you have like a total breakdown or whatever it ends up being. So, I had a full-blown identity crisis based on actually listening to one of my own podcasts from 4 years ago. It was about astrology, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like listening to myself then and how excited and aligned I was and like how hopeful I was about different things, and then realizing like I have not felt that way in a long time, right? So it's so feeling those feelings. I had a day that was great, but once you feel them, you can create space for something different, right? It's like once you have that emotional release, but you probably work with clients, right, on things that would be emotional release, like you do different modalities that then they're like maybe crying and they don't know why. Does that happen?
I haven't had anyone cry on me.
Okay.
I get a lot of like sighs and like involuntary kind of movements and things like that, which is good because I'm like, oh, the energy's moving or something's going on there. But
exactly.
Maybe I haven't had a crier yet because maybe I'm not.
You haven't attracted a crier.
Yeah, because I'm maybe not mentally and emotionally adequate with someone just like
oh my
crying on me.
I have people cry a lot. Yes, but just feeling through those feelings, and that's something when I create this course, I'll go in depth into different ways you can do that. But essentially, your emotions live in your body, so it's getting into your body, feeling through what's there, which. To me, now that I've studied it, I studied it. So now I understand. I'm like, oh yeah, that just makes sense. But there's a learning curve to that, right? Like, it's just like, go feel your feelings. And, I feel like humans now are like, what? What does that even mean? Like, I don't know how to do that. So,
Well, and being comfortable with a variety of them, right? Because I do think, like, in America, we are somehow more comfortable with like anger or anxiety and maybe even depression, but things like vulnerability or like sadness or you know what I mean, we'll replace sadness and vulnerability with anger quickly. That's what I do.
That is my go-to for sure.
Okay, so who knew that emotions and actually feeling with them and working with them could help alleviate the clutter in your environment and in your mind? Okay, so that's good. All right, number 4.
Number 4 is mindset. So this is
mindset.
probably the most mental one, so you might like this.
Yeah.
But this is when you really take a look at your thoughts. And these thoughts can be triggered and be coming from, the inputs and the clutter, right?
And they can,
yes,
right? Of course.
And so your thoughts also tend to create your feelings. So it's sort of like, I'm sort of putting an order to these steps, right? Feeling through the feelings that are there, so that then there's some space and you can notice the thoughts. Because if you're trying to like mentally figure out your feelings, it doesn't normally work. Like you can understand them, sure, but it's not actually moving anything through to sit there and like talk about your thoughts and your feelings. But anyways, so this is really like the mindset work, So
right.
What's the thing that happened, whatever it is? It could be small. I listened to a podcast, right? Mm-hmm. What's the thought that triggered? And our thoughts are based on our past inputs, right. From childhood, all if there's any trauma or family, culture, society, media, all that. Like, so we're basically just like our built up of all these things over the years. So something happens, you have a thought about it. So I listened to that podcast, and I had the emotion before I realized what the thought was, right? But the thought, I think, was, I was so much happier then. I don't feel that happy now. What's wrong with me? Right. And so then the emotions went from there. So the mindset work is to look at the thoughts. Mm-hmm. Say, I actually haven't worked through this one specifically, but say, I tend to jump to the feelings now because it's just kind of easier once you get practice with it. Okay. But, ask the thought like, okay, well, is there actually something wrong with me? Is that true? The answer is almost always no, Right. And I talked to a friend and she's like, hold on, that was 2019. A lot of stuff has happened in the world since then, so maybe you don't need to like be holding yourself to the same standard where you were then, right? So you can
That's a good point.
Yes,
changed a little bit.
It's totally true, but it happens so fast. You can't sit there and be logical. Like you just have these things, and they just play out in your mind very quickly. And so it's like, okay, that's not true. Like what's an alternative? Right. Thought or truth that feels better to lean into. And that could be something like, for this example, we have been through a lot, and it's okay to have compassion for myself and where I am now, and I can use this as an invitation to explore, like, what does joy look like for me now, if it's not me trying to go back in time, right, to a different reality that, doesn't exist for me anymore, right? And for most people, it exists somewhere out there because time and space are fake and whatever, all those things. But so it's about exploring those and really looking at your thoughts, and it all sort of circles together, because if you start to notice this input is making me feel this way because of these thoughts, that can help you say, maybe that input is not something I need in my life. Unfollow, or whatever it is.
Upstream to the,
Yes, exactly. So, yeah.
Okay, so one thing I did like that you said is, you mentioned, and I don't know if it was this step or the previous step, about trying to use your mind to deal with your emotions instead of like actually feeling them.
Yes.
But with this last situation, you were saying like you cried. So do you think that helped you get to the thought more quickly, because you felt the emotion? You didn't try to use your mind to like overcome it. Right. You felt it first. You had a release.
Yes. So I think for me, I've really been leaning into like the idea of feeling, not fixing.
Feeling, not fixing.
Yes. Because when you are so mental, you can get really, this mindset game can become another pressure. Right. Because you think about your thoughts, and your thoughts create your reality as a manifestation. You can get really perfectionistic and overthinking about your thoughts. Right. Which is wild.
Well, which makes sense, because for a mental person, it's not necessarily do I want to feel my feelings. Yeah. It's like, I only want certain feelings. Yes. So, no, I want to fix it. Who wants to be vulnerable or crying or sad or like...
But I think the secret is you have to feel the negative feelings to be able to feel the positive feelings too. Because if I'm just numbing and scrolling all the time, like...
Or fixing.
Yes, then I'm kind of staying here.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling the highs or the lows. And now my highs and lows, I think just naturally, by nature of who I am, are not as big as some other people's highs or lows, right? Like my friend is an Aries, and she's like screaming or crying, like when emotions are happening, those are the levels. And we're very different, and we joke all the time about how different we are. And I'm still like kind of here. Like I'm like a middle wave. She's like a big wave.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like does this mean anything to you? If this was like a line and you had a graph, either are your waves peaks really high and your valleys really low, or are they more middle ground?
More middle ground.
I've always felt like I've been more middle ground. Okay.
So you're like integrating probably.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
Yeah, and so I think probably they've gone a little bit bigger since I have started to feel the feelings. Right. She's not afraid of her feelings. She feels her feelings all the time, right? And so, yeah.
Okay, I like this. Oh my goodness, this was great. You gave us a lot of good tips. Like any last words or messages that you can think of?
No, I think just don't take this as another to do. Anything I ever say, it's like these are, you have to take what resonates, right? Like if something resonated, one little thing, take that and maybe implement it, right? Maybe delete Instagram off your phone or whatever. Right. Or if it's like, oh, clean out that drawer. Or you know what, she's right. I'm like crying right now for no reason. I don't even know. Like just let it. Just like, let it happen. So just trust that you're getting the right information at the right time and go with what feels not good in the short term. But what you feel drawn to, I guess.
Right.
Yes.
What you feel drawn to.
Yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, what are you really excited about in the spring? Mm-hmm. And if someone wants to work with you or get more information about you, and and also Charlotte's a very cool person. Like she's multifaceted and has a lot of really. Love your website.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where can they find you and what are you excited about?
Yes. Okay. So you can find me on social media, of course. We just talked about all the inputs. But on Instagram, Charlotte Kaye Coach. Kaye has an E at the end. Or on Facebook, I'm Charlotte Kaye. And I have a Facebook group called Cozy and Connected Coven.
Which I'm a part of.
Yes.
And I'll put links.
Yes. Perfect. And your other question...
What are you excited about?
Oh, what am I excited about? Thank you. Well, I was just telling Shalina about this. I'm actually stepping away from work for a full week. Technically, it started this morning, but now it'll start right after this. Just to do that, to kind of integrate, the past few years, and I think it's always good to ask yourself, what do I really want to be doing? Like, what feels really good to me? Like, who am I right now? And someone asked that at a conference. I was like, oh, that's perfect question. Who am I now?
Right now?
Yeah. And so I'm doing a bit of that, and of course things are coming in. So I have something I'm creating that I believe will remain aligned. I'm like, wait, I really want to make sure, is this really what I want to be doing? But it's feeling really good right now. So it'll be an offer for folks that want to work with me. So follow me on the social medias for more information. The universe is also giving me signs that is the thing to do. So
love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll have to come back at some point.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll come to you and
perfect.
We'll have something else to talk about.
I love it.
Thanks for being on Tuesday Talks.
Yes. Thank you, Shalina.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.